think he's alive.
100%?
Yeah, I think yes. It says live and it's counting down. So.
الحمد لله رب العالمين ونصلي ونسلم على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وتم التسليم. الحديث السادس عشر حديث number 16 عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رجلا قال للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أوصني قال لا تغضب فردد مرارا قال لا تغضب رواه البخاري. Reported by Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, hadith number 16, on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu says that a man approached the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, advise me, give me advice. So the Messenger ﷺ responded by saying, don't get angry. فَرَدَّدَ مِرَارًا. He kept repeating himself, don't get angry, don't get angry, don't get angry. Further emphasizing the point. Number one, in this concise but crucial, vital hadith of Arba'in Nawawiyya, we see the trustworthiness of the companions, Ridwanullah Ta'ala alayhim, where this is a man unnamed and unknown that is mentioning this hadith or mentioned in the hadith, yet it is not compulsory for us to go and analyze and find, research who this man was. Generally, when it comes to the science of narrating hadith, you go to great extent in finding out who people are in the chain of narration of a hadith, because this is a great amana. These are the words of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Except if it's a companion. If it's a companion, radiallahu anhu, there is no need for research and analysis. Allah Azza wa Jal says, radiallahu anhum wa radu an. Allah Azza wa Jal pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whenever in the chain of narration, even if it's an unknown sahabi, as long as it's confirmed that it is a companion, then it is automatically accepted. Don't have to go and research and try to find who that companion was. Right? It's automatically accepted by the scholars of hadith. The other thing that's important is when you're dealing with doubtful matters, as we mentioned before, a way of clearing doubts about anything that's to do with your life, you can go and ask others with more experience or knowledge than yourself for advice. Rather than trying to push yourself or independence and doing a solo style by yourself, you go and ask others for advice. You know, the Messenger ﷺ was the best advisor. Hud alayhi salam, when he was sent to his people, he says, أَنَا لَكُمْ نَاصِحٌ أَمِينٌ. I am a trustworthy advisor to you. You know, a person that people approach on a continuous basis for advice. So, when you are asked advice, try your best to keep it relevant to that person you're advising, rather than going off track mentioning that which is irrelevant. As scholars say about this hadith, that Rasulullah ﷺ knew this man. And generally, there are countless hadith where people come to Rasulullah asking questions. And you see that every time a person says, Ya Rasulullah, advise me, his response is different, depending on the person asking. Showing that Rasulullah ﷺ knows these people and knows the dose of advice suitable for that person. You know? No matter how concise. Here, he said, advise me. And Rasulullah just said, La taghdab. Don't get angry. That's it. He didn't say, don't because of anger does this, and also you do this, and taqwa of Allah. You know, you read the situation. If someone comes to ask advice, even if it's a youngster coming to you for advice based on your experience or your knowledge, keep it concise to the point and keep it relevant to that person. Yeah? Keep it relevant so that the person can absorb that advice you're giving them. Yeah? Rather than you going off track, or you, wal-'iyadhu billah, in some way showing off by adding extra points. You know, we do it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and we constantly check our intention so that we are at all times, in every way, sincere for the sake of acquiring the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal alone and nothing else. But despite it being for that person, it is extremely applicable and it's very important for us to understand anger management in our religion and how much it has been emphasized. To the point where Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran, as part of the characteristics of the people of at-taqwa, in Surah Al-Imran, when he talks about the width and the size of the Jannah prepared for al-muttaqeen, then he goes on to describe the muttaqeen. Yeah, one of the traits of the people of at-taqwa is wal-kadhimin al-ghayz, the ones who control their anger. Now in this hadith, when he says la taghdab, don't get angry, it doesn't mean that the natural human trait and emotion of anger is forbidden. The Prophet ﷺ himself on many occasions got angry. The companions, they would get angry. Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhuma, sometimes they will be arguing, shouting at each other in front of the Messenger ﷺ. It happens. They are the best of us, but they are still humans. They are still Bani Adam. Unlike other natural emotions, anger is a human trait recognized in the religion. But the point in this hadith is for you to control your anger. The point in the ayah about the trait of al-muttaqeen is for you to perfect anger management. As Rasulullah says in the hadith, the strong person is not the one who grapples another one, pinning him down, but rather it is the person who controls his anger. Who controls his anger. Why is that? Why has it been emphasized to this point in our religion? Because, my dear brothers, when it comes to anger, the level of anger you find yourself at is the level of control that shaitan will have over you. Full stop. No ifs, buts. That's how it is. Because sometimes, when we know that we all experience this, you get angry, you will say and do stuff. Later on, you are surprised yourself at what you just did and said. There are actually times where you get so angry that afterwards, when you calm down and people tell you what you said and did, you can't remember it. Wallah, did I say that? Did I swear like that? Did I swing like that? Nah, wallah. You literally can't remember. Because you got maximum level of anger, which is full control of the shaitan. He has full control over you. That is why it's been emphasized and mentioned as traits of al-muttaqeen. Yeah? So, just like other emotions, human traits like happiness, sorrow, anger, shock, all of these have been addressed by the religion. All of them recognized by Al-Islam. And with all of them, we have been advised accordingly to tread the middle path and given guidelines. Walillah alhamdu wal minna. And when it comes to the trait of anger, this innate feeling of anger, there are a few things that we need to keep in mind so that we align ourselves with Islamic etiquette. Number one, my dear Muslim brother, no one cares that you're angry. Your anger does not give you the excuse to use language that would be considered harmful, foul language, swearing. This is what we've been discussing before. Just because you are angry doesn't mean that the angels stop writing down. Leave him, he's angry. No. Every single thing you say, no matter what emotions overtake you, will be written down. Just because you're angry doesn't give you the green card and the excuse to start swearing and using foul language. But like we said before, even with anger, get in the habit of using the dhikr of Allah. Ya Rabb, Subhanallah, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Even when you're angry, you get in the habit of expressing yourself with dhikr rather than the F word, the S word, the A word, all of the words, foul language, that should be left in the streets with the non-Muslims, perhaps. It's not part of Muslim identity. And unfortunately, you hear that with youngsters, especially youngsters that think it's good or cool or I don't know what. You that I'm gonna effing do this and effing go home and effing I do this and effing come back. Why? Why use foul language? Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Say that which is good. The previous hadith that we did in the last lesson, فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ. Either say good or remain quiet. If you can't control your mouth, then at least keep your mouth shut. Don't use foul language. Even if people in front of you, even the youngsters, even if they're your children, doesn't matter. You are not entitled, even as a parent, to use foul language. It's not your property, it's an amana given to you, temporarily. We need to remember this. That just because they're youngsters or younger than you doesn't mean that you use foul language. The other thing that we stay away from, especially with parents, is doing bad du'as. Bad du'as, generally for everyone, specifically because it tends to happen, parents towards children, and also because there's a higher probability of them being accepted. So we don't start making bad du'as for anyone, no one. Yes, there are certain scenarios where perhaps you're so overcome with emotion that you may make a bad dua or make dua against someone. But generally, towards your Muslim brothers, you avoid making any dua against them. But even if you see them wronging you or doing something wrong, then ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to guide them. Allah yahdik. Make dua for them and wish good for them rather than hastening, being quick with making bad du'as or du'as against them. Especially with parents. It's extremely dangerous. Yes, most of the time if it's unjust bad du'as out of habit, most likely Allah Azza wa Jal is all just, right? He doesn't do oppression, dhulm. Most of the time, it will be rejected, even from the parents. If it's unjust, bad du'as. But sometimes, for whatever reason, that dua might be accepted. Yeah, so like the story of the man of Bani Israel, where he was praying voluntary prayer, and his mom called him, and he's praying. Which one is better, answering your mom or carrying on prayer?
Answer mom.
Answer mom, because answering mom is obligation. Well, you're praying voluntary prayer. So you stop your salah, you weigh which one is more important. Stop the salah, you get rewarded for the intention of the salah anyways. Yeah, you need to get the mindset correct. And then you go and tend to your mother or your father's needs. This man, he carried on the salah. She called him, she desperately needed him. She called him once, twice, thrice. She said, may you not die until you are afflicted with fitna. And shortly after, he was accused of zina in the whole qaryah. He went through lots of difficulties, trauma and depression, because everyone, he was a worshipper of Allah, but because of this one dua of his mom, he was afflicted with that fitna for quite some time, until the matter was settled and his innocence was proven, you know. But the point is that she made the dua and he went through quite a lot of difficulty and he was afflicted with fitna, trials and tribulations, because of that one dua from his mom. Yeah, so you have to be very careful with parents as well. You know, it's not only about the parents' side, yeah, that you should avoid making bad dua anyways, but also from the other side, from the children, you avoid anything that could get your parents anywhere even close towards bad duas. You know, they have so much rights over us, even though there's a limit at the end, as we mentioned, but the right that have been given to parents, they are vast. You know, to the point where that person, it was preferable for him to stay with his parents than being with Rasulullah, because he left them and made them cry. He wanted to be with Rasulullah, and he says, go back and make them happy. Don't come to me. Yeah? So you can imagine being with your parents being better than accompanying the Messenger. Amazing. Obviously, we're going to go off track again. There's a lot of parents, we're going to talk about that. So what I want to get at is some of the steps that we can take when it comes to anger management, or a few things to keep in mind, you know, so we can improve that management of anger when it takes hold. And it's not a matter of if, but when. There's always be things that will start initiating that emotion of anger. So when it overtakes you, the first thing you need to get in the habit of doing is seeking refuge in Allah from ash-shaytan. A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. The very first thing. Consciously say, okay, this is shaitan trying to affect me. Not just, a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. No. Consciously, fully. This is shaitan trying to affect me. So now I'm going to say, A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Watch the difference. Watch the difference afterwards. Not just A'udhu billahi, but consciously, number one, recognize the shaitan is trying, then say A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. And then you will see the difference in how you deal with anger. Afterwards, there are a lot of other prophetic advice, and advice is also from how the scholars have described anger management. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he said that in all my years of marriage, I never once argued with my wife. So they said, how is that possible, Imam? He said, when I would start to get angry, I would leave. When she would start to get angry, she would leave. Yeah, so a lot of the time, because of, I think probably all the time, when you're in the heat of the moment, as soon as you leave, calm down, and then you come back and you speak properly, anger is not even going to play a role in that discussion. Yeah, this is obviously specific for marriage, and it happens, two different people living together, it happens on a regular basis. But then leaving and then just calming down and then with a level head come back is a lot better than saying something that you will regret. Saying or doing something you will regret. Because when you're in a state of anger, you cannot think straight. Shaitan is pulling the plugs. So you need to leave, and then when you calm down, then you can come back. If it's not possible for you to leave, after saying A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem, you try to sit down. If you're standing up, sit down. Breathe. Sit down. If sitting down doesn't help, lie down. Lie down, breathe, calm down, then you can get back up and address the situation. Yeah? So these tools and these points we need to keep in mind at all times, just so we don't fall into the trap, the ready-made trap of shaitan. When you're in an argument, the hadith says, why does the hadith say Jannah is promised for the person who leaves the argument even if he's right? Why is that? This will avoid the conflict. Who practices these prophetic advices, If you're in a discussion, and it's easier said than done, I know. Especially when you try to prove a point and you're getting there and I know it's easier said than done, but if you remember, just for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla, you just leave it, then you'll see that the conflict never takes place. It doesn't even get to the point of anger. Sometimes, because of Islam recognizing conflicts, animosity, and possible hatred, it allows for a few days only, if you can't control it, to stay away from your Muslim brother. This can be seen as a point of benefit as well, because if you have something against someone and you're allowed 2-3 days to stay away from them completely, then perhaps you calm down and you end up patching things over. Yeah? So, if a person is angry with you and they start arguments with you, then you keep calm, try to be calm, try to apologize, get in the habit of apologizing, no matter how difficult it is. Yeah? And you'll see that when you, just like if you're faced with someone apologizing, it quickly calms you down, right? Because you're like, he's accepted fault and he's apologizing. What else am I going to say? You get it? Like, it's funny, I always remember these stories. Here, when you have a car crash, as soon as the car crash happens, you need to stand there, take pictures, get details, call insurance, even the smallest scratch. In Saudi, and I'm assuming a lot of Arab countries, the standard car is dented car. Dented, damaged car is the standard way of cars being in Arab countries. So one time I was in the car with a family member of mine. He was driving, and this family, he didn't look in the side mirror, and he turned and he hit the other car very badly on the side. He got full dent at the back. So he stopped the car and we got out, and he's shouting, he's just literally beside himself. And the brother who was with me, he was trying to just argue back and say, why are you getting loud? Why can't you speak properly? I was like, just wait. So I said to him, it's our fault. He didn't check the mirror. It's our fault. Apologies. It's our fault. Didn't see it. He literally calmed down. He went from screaming. He was screaming, shouting, swearing. He went to, خلاص طيب لا إشكال خلاص. بارك الله فيك. السلام عليكم. He went. He said afterwards, all I wanted was for you to say it's your fault. I don't care about my car. Yeah? So in those situations, they don't care about the car. He's like, I don't care about the car. Just say that you're at fault. Yeah, even in traffic here, when sometimes you do something, and the other driver might get angry and start flashing, start swearing. Even non-Muslims. As soon as you say sorry, it just dies down. Because you've acknowledged that, okay, I was at fault. Rather than trying to fight, you're at fault, but you're still fighting. For what? It doesn't cost anything to just say, sorry, I was wrong. That's it. And most of the time, almost all the time, it kills any tension. Getting in the habit of just apologizing, even if you think that it is his fault. But just because of escalation, you keep things at a cool level. May Allah Azza wa Jal grant us goodness. May Allah Azza wa Jal guide us, keep us on the straight path. Keep our hearts pure and open our doors and grant us success in both worlds. Straightforward, so I'm guessing no questions.
هل الوضوء يذهب الغضب؟
ها؟ الوضوء
يذهب الغضب؟
That's a good point. Yeah, that's عموما وقت الغضب لا أحد يذكر الوضوء يعني للأسف الشديد. The brother is saying like, does wudu help with anger management? No doubt. It's part of worship, ibadah, and it will definitely help. I should have mentioned this. Barakallahu feek for that. But the thing is, in real life scenarios, like I just said to the brother as well, no one's going to remember doing wudu. But if you can remember wudu, if you're at that level, you can remember wudu at that time, فَبِهَا وَنِعْمَةً. Alhamdulillah. We'll do wudu, and that will definitely help with managing your anger. Barakallahu feek. You ended because they brought tea now.